Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Vulsa here, and today we're talking Warpets. So a player writes me, and she's about to move in on her Magze. She's got this shell for a Warpet, 8 slots. Good to very good stats. Not perfect, but I think this is final form, no further regeneration required. Now she's got 8 skills on here. They're all solid, they all work. These are all good skills for the Shadow Manticore. But the thing you'll notice missing here is the Amber skill. Now she's only got 2 Ambers currently, but as soon as she gets up to 4, she's willing to go in to get that skill. So let's just do a threshold question here. Is the Amber skill worth it for the Shadow Manticore? The answer is yes. Yes, it is worth it. Alright, I'm going to put up a sample report I just pulled from my Shadow when I was doing some testing. Now, to be fair, my talent skill is only 2 stars on my Shadow Manticore. The Amber skill is 3 stars, obviously. And the effectiveness is vary depending on your attributes on your pet. But it's worth noting that in addition to the generic pet damage boosters, I also have the talent-specific booster on my pet. And even with that, the Amber skill is outpacing the base talent by more than 2 to 1. Alright, I think we agree that if you can afford it, the Amber skill is very much worthwhile on the Shadow Manticore. So this player's question really boils down to, when I can afford the Amber skill, what skill should I cut? Right now on a Shadow Manticore, if you're going the pet damage route, you really have 3 groupings of skills that work well. Pet talent and the associated skills, the chain strike package, and the pet damage boosters. Now the math majors among you probably noticed that we have 10 talents here to fit at best 8 slots. So which 8 do we go with? For the sake of discussion here, that all of the relevant stats are equally good, and we're going to also assume that we're not resource constrained, what would be the 8 best skills for this pet? Alright, let's talk through these. And I think the best place to start is to understand what chain strike is doing. Chain Strike's a great skill. It's going to be a must include for almost every archer pet to include this one. The tooltip though is a bit misleading. Chain Strike, the way it works, it's sort of like the cousin to Counter Strike. What Chain Strike gives you is a 50% chance every time you launch a normal attack to launch an additional normal attack, maximum of 1 proc per second. The damage factor on the additional attack is determined by the stat level on your Chain Strike, modified by your pet's agility, but it counts as a Legion attack, not a pet attack. The good news about that is that it means anything that can be triggered by your Legion's normal attack can also be triggered by the Chain Strike attack. The bad news is that your Chain Strike attack does not get the benefit from generic pet damage boosters, things like Blood Roar, Fatal Bite, and so on. Okay, in addition to any Legion skills or talents that Chain Strike attack can trigger, there are 2 pet talents dependent on Chain Strike: Intense Chain Strike and Advanced Chain Strike. Intense Chain Strike gives you additional damage every 4th Chain Strike proc, and it can be triggered at most once per second. But if Chain Strike can be triggered at most once per second, how could Intense Chain Strike possibly be triggered any faster than once every 4 seconds? I don't think it can be. If you know a way, let me know in the comments below. Intense Chain Strike is an independent damage source, and it takes advantage of all your pet damage boosters. Advanced Chain Strike, on the other hand, gives you variable healing every time you cast Chain Strike. Okay, that's the Chain Strike packet. We're not cutting Chain Strike. Intense Chain Strike is straight additional damage, so the case to keep it or lose it just comes down to what cut costs us the least DPS, alright? So what about Advanced Chain Strike, the one that gives us variable healing? Okay, well healing's a good thing in of itself, but our main concern is doing damage. If all we want to do is heal, we just pick up a Sand Lizard. But Magze has got some healing synergies, right? So let's take a look at them. Alright, the strongest one is Magrat's first skill, Peach's Dream, which gives her a super strong attack after every 5 times she triggers variable healing. Not so fast. The skill can only charge up once per second, and the very skill gives Magrat variable healing once per second. In other words, the skill basically maxes itself out. Advanced Chain Strike is no help here. Okay, let's look at Magrat's second skill, Truth Teller. It gives her a 30% chance to gain 40% attack for 3 seconds every time she heals. This is good, and Advanced Chain Strike will help proc this. But the thing we know is max procking healing every turn with her first skill. You're also probably getting some random procs from the Dedication skill every so often. You're just going to get random healing splashing onto you during the battle. And the thing with this skill is you can't stack it. What you want to do is proc it and keep it rolling, right? You want to get the skill to, you want uptime on the skill, and you want to keep it as much uptime as you can. But the thing is, your uptime is probably going to be pretty decent anyway, even without it. So it's helpful with the skill, but it's not game breaking. Okay, what about Zeta? While her only healing synergy skill is her second skill, Decisive Duel, which when it procs makes your healing stronger. In other words, the synergy helps you heal more. That's good, but again, that's not our primary goal. Our primary goal is dealing damage, killing the enemy. Advanced Strike and Chain Strike helps a bit with that, but not a ton. And it's less effective at that than the other contenders. Here's the other thing about Advanced Chain Strike. It costs 3 Amber, alright? Advanced Chain Strike, sorry, you're getting cut. Okay, so we got one out, which leaves 9 skills for 8 slots. Well, of those 9, are there any we can rule in defensively? Yeah, absolutely. There's some we can rule in, absolutely. All right, the talent skill's in for sure, obviously. The Amber skill is super strong here. If you can afford it, you have to include it on this pet. Chain Strike is a must include, and that gets us to 3. Okay, then we got the pet crit damage packet. They're super expensive, but it's very strong as well, right? If you can afford these, they're a must include. We're putting all 3 of these in this pet. All right, so that leaves 3 skills for 2 slots. Intense Chain Strike, Tooth and Claw, and Intense Barbarism. Tooth and Claw and Intense Barbarism are an interesting comparison, right? Tooth and Claw improves the damage on all your skills, whereas Intense Barbarism only increases the damage on the talent skill, but it has a stronger effect on it than Tooth and Claw does. Okay, see, these are all damage-related skills, so what does the most damage, right? We're going to cut whichever one costs us the least DPS. But let's assume we have everything set at the same star level with the same attribute. Well, are there other variables here? Yeah, there are the other skills in the pet. Right, and the synergy between the skills is really what you're going for here. Intense Chain Strike benefits from Tooth and Claw, Fatal Bite, Angry, and Blood Roar. Tooth and Claw synergizes not just with Intense Chain Strike, but also with the talent skill, Barbarism, and the Amber skill, Advanced Barbarism. But Intense Barbarism only strengthens the talent skill, and I guess by extension it makes the crit talents better on the talent skill, but it's still limited in a way that the other skills aren't. And that's why as you level up your pet, this is the skill that gets left out. At the 2-star level, Intense Chain Strike outperforms Tooth and Claw, which in turn outperforms Intense Barbarism. I want to emphasize that each individual pet situation is different and that the attributes on the pet matter a lot. Barbarism and Intense Barbarism are both luck-based. If your pet has a very strong luck score but not good strength, Intense Barbarism is likely to outperform Tooth and Claw, for example. If you don't have the Amber skill, Tooth and Claw falls off, and Intense Barbarism becomes better, etc., etc. So here's my recommended build for this pet. Hey, that's it, and thank you to everyone for stopping by. If you enjoyed this content or found it helpful, please hit that like and subscribe button. Remember, you can send me your war pets if you'd like me to take a look or review them, and I will be featuring the strongest war pets in the game right here on this channel. Look for more details in the description below, and until next time, stay classy, Belleron.